Check podcasts.
The Bread and Butter Collective is a collection of hospitality professionals working together to help strengthen our industry to build strong culture, community, and sustainability.
I'm Kalen McNeil.
And I'm Sam Jones. And this is the Bread and Butter Podcast.
Welcome to the Bread and Butter Podcast.
Good
How are
morning,
you, Sam?
Kalen. Oh, I'm doing really good. Yeah, hanging tough.
And your palsy?
Bell's palsy, still Bell's palsy,
Is
although that's questionable.
Questionable whether it's Bell's
Whether
palsy
it is or just Bell's palsy symptoms.
Is it still the same status?
Same status. I don't
getting
have any
used to it?
pain
Yeah.
anymore, which is amazing.
Oh, that's good.
Because I went through like a month.
And that was
of
an ear
pain.
infection kind of component.
Oh, that's what they were saying, but they're I don't know. I'm seeing so many doctors right now, and every one of them has a different opinion. So,
Well, you know what I have an opinion of?
what's
We
that?
have an amazing guest on today.
I second that.
And she's a listener
whoa,
or watcher
and human, not an AI,
and a
listener?
human, not an
Oh,
AI.
thank God.
Karen, how are you?
I'm good, thanks. How are you?
Good. Where are you from?
Are you asking me that
No,
question?
I know the question, but for
Where
our
are
audience,
you from?
Where,
no. Where are
oh,
you really
geez.
from? I'm glad.
Oh my
I'm
goodness!
so glad you asked.
Maybe it's
I'm not
how
talking
you ask. I'm
ethnicity. Oh, how
sorry.
embarrassing!
I'm sorry.
In this
can we
day
just
and
find
age-
out where you work?
Yes. Oh my God.
Oh my goodness.
You are an amazing restaurateur.
Thank you.
You're in the business,
Yes.
and tell our audience where you work, not where you're from.
That was good.
But
that
where
was
you're
good.
from
That was
is
such a
fine,
good
too.
opener. I
It
love
was-
that.
Oh my goodness! I don't get embarrassed very often, but it's
Really,
hilarious.
your face isn't going red though.
It's just constantly red.
Yeah.
It's like a tomato.
So I'm from Sizzling, Tandoor, and then more recently Kinu. So I'm not sure how familiar. Yeah.
No.
I know that Kinu is a branch of Sizzling
Yeah.
Tandoor, focusing on kind of international appies and small bite-sized
Yeah.
things. Am I
Yeah,
right?
yeah, you
Okay.
are. And then we also got incredible, like we on our menu, we've got an incredible like traditional Indian section, but rather than your classic, 5-page Indian booklet, Indian menu
Yeah.
booklet, you've got, where food is just from North India, you've got food from all different places. So my goal was to spread awareness with like how big India is and how many regional cuisines there are and all of that. So our goal is, over time to keep, bringing new dishes in.
Like influence from regions of India.
Yeah, totally. So
awesome.
in 2019, I actually spent 3 months traveling around India all by myself, which is
cool.
My parents had a heart attack.
Oh
but
my! I mean, I'm thinking about it. I'm like, oh my goodness.
yeah, they're like, our
After 3
baby girl
months.
though is like going around India by herself. What is she thinking?
Yeah.
But it was such a neat experience. Like honestly, for me, I experienced nothing but like warm hospitality. I didn't feel unsafe at any point. So that was really great. I don't know if that was luck or,
Yeah.
or if truly it's just, things get painted in a different light when you're not there. But yeah, it's just, there's so much different food I experienced and, I knew about it, but I'd never really even tried it because it's not available here.
Right.
And my parents, like, they're from India. So, just how I'm from Canada, you don't end up really exploring your country that much.
No, exactly.
Right? Because
Yeah.
you're excited to go somewhere else.
Yeah.
And so I've seen more of India than they have. And I'm like coming back and telling them about all this like food. And again, they've only heard of it. They've never really tried it themselves. So it's really neat to be able to introduce that to our menus. Most of our, cooks come from different parts of India that aren't actually Punjab, which is where my family's from.
Yeah.
So, I think it's really an exciting opportunity for them to also showcase what they're familiar with eating, right?
That's right.
So is Punjab in the north of India?
Yeah, it is. Yeah.
So the cuisine of the Sizzling Tandoor
Is-
primarily northern?
Yeah,
And
you
now
got
you're
it.
kind of expanding that out?
Exactly.
What's the difference between, say, northern Indian cuisine and
Yeah.
southern?
It's hard because I don't feel like I'm an expert to like fully say.
Yeah, we make up stuff here all the
Yeah,
time.
so it's okay.
So-
Okay,
Yeah.
let me,
So your best guess is usually
let me ask you
facts.
in a different way. In Italy, there's
Yeah.
a real difference between the food and the culture and the people from north to south.
Yeah.
Is it the same sort of thing in India?
Totally. I think
Okay.
every country kind of tends to have a little bit of that. South Indian like food tends to be more like rice based. Their curries tend to be like a thinner consistency. The food's not as, I don't want to say not as rich because it is in its own ways, right? Like it uses spices and stuff.
Yeah.
But, like in terms of like, I guess heaviness, richness in that sense, it's not as rich as northern food always. It's a lot lighter. I mean, it's a lot warmer in the
Yeah.
south, so I presume
Is
that
it
that has
spicier
something
in
to
the
do.
south?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, I felt like Rajasthan was the absolute spiciest though,
Yeah.
like so spicy. South Indian food though is definitely a lot more spicier than
Yeah.
North Indian food. Lots of seafood because you're out on the coast there. So it just varies so much. And then when you go to, it's so funny when you go to the Northeast, which I was really lucky I got to do. I went to a place called Sikkim, which borders like China and Tibet and like Bhutan.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And so then the food is a lot of like Asian influence.
Yes.
Right?
Yeah.
So they're eating like dumplings, which are called momos.
Yeah.
They have I'm trying to think if it's actually called chow mein. And I think it is. They called their noodles chow mein. But then we've got something called Manchurian over there, which is kind of like any Asian kind of like a stick, like, has like a sticky sauce to it. It's like a fried, I don't know what it'd be referred to, but there's a lot of that crossover.
Yeah. A lot of Chinese influence.
Exactly.
yeah.
But then it's so interesting because then, you introduce something like that here and the immediate like response is, oh, they're trying to whitewash the food or, they're trying to,
just lack of understanding.
And I'm like, actually that's the authentic food of that region.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
And like, there's so much crossover in the world where you were invaded by somebody and therefore like their food has left an influence.
Yeah.
So it's just a lack of understanding sometimes, but like when you're on the flip side of it, you just get projected on.
Yeah. It's
and you just get
interesting because
told.
that dynamic happens obviously at Zambres as well too when you're doing what what's authentic to you. Like we're more in Northern Italian, but
Yeah.
we also bring in other influences.
Yeah.
But just that lack of sort of knowledge base. But I guess it's like when we do things, we do it with integrity.
Yeah.
And so sometimes that integrity could kind of be confused with something else, but it's also insulting to us when we're, posed with that type of stuff.
Yeah.
It's like, how do you like what? But I can kind of see that. I could see it from their perspective too, of just, if they're going to an Indian place, they're, we get butter chicken and we're going all the standard stuff. And it's not really, that's a small part or portion of what India does.
Yeah.
I would think, just like any other region. Same with, Italy too.
Totally.
Right?
But it's not even just like what your offerings are. It's also like comparing those offerings constantly, right? So I just brought you guys chai masala and tomorrow you could literally go to my cousin's house and go have chai and it'll taste different, right?
Yeah.
Who's to say which one's authentic? My dad and his brother grew up in the same house, but once they built their own families, they had their own preferences. Their wives brought in different influence.
Yeah.
So at our home, we drink cardamom and cloves. My mom's not a fan of fennel at all. So even though at my dad's house they used to drink fennel, they stopped drinking fennel as a couple, right?
Yeah.
And then
Yeah,
I
wife-
have this like strong dislike for fennel because my mom never introduced it to us, right? And so now it's funny, we incorporate like a touch in our blend just to kind of bring in a little bit of that, some of those notes in a very subtle way. But go to my cousin's house and it's like
It's
all
fennel forward.
Exactly. And so I once had this guy come into our West Shore location and I will never forget this moment. And he was like, I came in last night and I had chai and it was not authentic at all. So he shows up with a mason jar and it's full of chai that he had made.
Oh, it's so sweet.
Oh,
And he was
he's
like,
there to teach you.
yeah. Yeah. And he was like, so I actually made you chai. And I would love to drink it with you.
Oh.
And he was like, so yeah, I just want to tell you all about how chai should be made. And he was a he was like an older white man.
Yeah.
And I was like, is this
Where's
actually
this coming from?
Yeah. And I was like 24, right?
Yeah.
And I'm like, I don't know how to react to this.
Yeah.
Like if I say anything, I'm going to be considered rude and
Yeah.
like this could result in a bad review or
Yeah.
whatever. But then at the same time, like I'm deeply insulted right now. Like there's no way what my parents are making at home isn't authentic.
Yeah.
And he like makes me go in the back and like I warm it up. And I was like, you know, I'm
Oh.
there and I'm like almost in tears. And the chef's like, what's up? And I was like, this white guy wants me to drink his chai. And I was like, I don't even drink chai at my cousin's house. Like, why would I drink his chai?
yeah.
You know? And I took it out and I totally didn't drink it. I like poured it in a cup, kept it there because I wanted to be polite and I wanted to appease him. And he's like telling me all about how he went to Varanasi. I'm like, first of all, we call that Benares, right? Like two different names. And then secondly, like India's huge. So your experience of chai is different than mine. And he's, you know, and then I'm like, you know, actually there's like a book that has like 52 different ways to drink chai.
Yeah.
Right. And they're all from India. And somebody went around and like, they're like, how do you guys drink it in your region? How do you like our chefs at the restaurant? They drink ginger tea.
Yeah.
We don't at home. Right. So I don't know. That's kind of like the big thing that I feel like I'm always up against.
Yeah.
And then I think with Kinu, it was like, you know, we've got to change the name so that people don't come in here and have this like constant expectation of, well, this other Indian restaurant does this. Well, it's like, you know what? There's no precedent for Kinu.
Yeah.
What is Kinu?
Yeah.
And what is Kinu serving? What is Kinu doing? And it's like, you know what? There's nothing like Kinu. So now you can't even compare us to anybody.
Yeah.
Let us have our own identity. And let me blend these like two lives I have, right? Like I'm born in Canada. This is my home. I'm born in Victoria. By me embracing that, it doesn't make me whitewashed.
Yeah.
But also by me, you know, bringing in Indian food to a restaurant, it shouldn't make it like cheap or, you know, have to compare to what prices or what offerings the next person has, right?
It's kind of interesting because I think about just that experience with that customer who brought in the chai. Like on one hand, it's offensive.
Yeah.
But on the other hand, it's like this customer of yours cares so much about what is going on and trying to draw in his own experience. It's a little bit of a compliment.
Yeah.
You know, to think that he's got the cajones to do that, right? Like you could think it or whatever, but it's actually it's interesting because I always look at these types of experiences and try to figure out like what is the motivation and am I missing something here? Like it's actually something to be celebrated in some ways because he took the time, you know, first he tried the chai and he's like, oh, this is different than my experience. And you could condemn him for the sort of, I don't want to call it whitewashing, but the broad stroke of what he thinks India is and what chai is in general. Could be the same if you're going to France with wine or Italy with wine or Italy with pasta or sauces or whatever. It's, you know, you had that there, but that it doesn't describe, it's only one part of a description of a broader thing. But for him to take that time and take that interest, I think it's kind of cool.
It's
in a totally different way.
It's cool wrapped in ignorance.
I was just about to kind of say that it was really neat the way you phrased that though was, hey, I recognize that your chai is different, right? That's educational. That's observant. That's, you know.
Yeah, you're doing chai wrong.
And
his approach was horrible.
That's offensive.
And I think like, you know, wanting to learn more about it, that's cultural appreciation.
Yeah.
But telling us about it is cultural appropriation, right?
Yes,
and like
yes.
it's really funny because
especially from a white guy.
Totally. And like it's really hard because I grew up around white people, right? And so sometimes I have tendencies like, you know, my palate wasn't super diverse. So when I moved to the UK at like the age of, you know, 19 or 20, however old I was, and then later I moved to Vancouver for a year or whatever, like I felt like I stuck out like a sore thumb. I was like, I've never had, like over there, people are like, oh yeah, should we go grab X, Y, and Z? And there's all these different things that they're naming off, right? And I'm just kind of like a burger and fries girl at that point, right? And I'm like, this is humiliating.
Yeah.
And I couldn't eat spicy stuff, which is like even more embarrassing. I mean, things have
especially
changed.
when you consider your family and what they do.
Yeah.
all of
Well,
that, right?
it's funny because my parents don't eat a lot of spice, and again, that's such a like stereotypical thing that all Indians eat spice.
Yeah.
But like a lot of Indian families that immigrated here, they would like if they made a batch of dal or any kind of like curry, they would pull a little bit out first before adding spice for the kids, right?
Yeah.
I don't know why they did that, but they did that because probably back home they didn't do that.
Yeah.
But here they always did that, so that's how we grew up, right? It's not our fault.
Yeah.
Right, that we got like like that we're now sensitive to spice or whatever. But I was like, I don't love using the word cultural appropriation too much because I love when people embrace my culture.
Yeah.
I'm wearing a bindi today, and as I was driving here, I was thinking about this moment of when I was a little girl. Gwen Stefani had worn some jewels in her music video.
Yeah.
And I remember, I think I was like, I don't know, like 3 or 4, max 5. And I literally went up to my girl cousin who was like staying over. And I was like, oh my gosh, Jyoti, look, she's wearing a bindi. And I was so excited.
Yeah.
And because like to me, I was like, I love bindis. And like like my favorite thing was like my grandparents going to India and bringing me back an Indian outfit.
Yeah.
And so to me, I saw that as representation. As a young kid, you don't know any different, right?
Yeah.
Sure, maybe now reflecting back on it, it was trendy and whatever. I don't think she was disrespecting it.
Yeah.
But I also think that maybe, some people felt like it wasn't used in the right context or whatever.
It's such an interest.
It's such a touchy subject. And I'm sure I'll get
context would be more appropriate than a music video that's about fashion and people.
And see, like I love highlighting that in that positive way, right?
Yeah.
To me, it's like, sure, like it is at some point, bindi did have like historical, cultural, maybe even religious kind of significance behind it. But like often now it's just worn as an ornate thing.
Yeah.
And I'm sure I'll get lashback, right? There will be people that will be like, how dare you say that? But I don't know. It's like everything is so touchy, and it's like really important to, I share really openly about like how I feel about those things. And so, the chai situation, like, in the moment that really bothered me. I mean, I really appreciate your perspective on that. And I agree with you. Had the person like given an observation.
Yeah, I think he handled it completely wrong.
Yeah.
But when you get down to and I think this is the problem when you talk about cultural appropriation and people's sensitivity to seeing different things and making judgments.
Yeah.
Because, even though Gwen Stefani, I'm sure, had a reason to do what she did, I think it brings a conversation to the table where you can actually have a dialogue about that, because I think understanding different cultures and perspectives also are initiated by that type of conflict.
Yeah.
Where you're forced to face it, or people are, and you might not even think about it. Like you wearing it today. Yeah. I mean, this is a part of your culture. No one would ever think. I thought you look beautiful.
Oh, thank you.
And I appreciate when someone touches on their culture, because it's educational.
Totally.
It provides a sort of depth that is so much richer. Yeah. And when someone else is doing, I mean, if it depends on, I guess, what intent is, like what the intent is. And often people some people don't have any intent. Yeah. They're just, I like the way this looks. Yeah. Other people are doing it, very small. Everything happens in the small, in my opinion. Like 1, 2, 3% of the people have bad intent. Yeah. Everybody else is either naive or just being kind, or just, oblivious, or, doing it thinking and wanting to, they like it and they want to be a part of that. And I think that is where you can really confuse what's happening.
Well, not everyone who wears those tea necklaces goes to church. Right?
Yeah.
No.
Stop.
We're really gonna, but in this day and age, when you think of the sensitivity of it, it's like, well, let's get down to the root of it. Like, what is the agenda? What is the purpose of this? Like when people attack LGBTQ and transgender issues, they're really projecting their own stuff that's not anything to do with that. Because when you look at the size, the size of the transgender community, and you're like, or even if you're saying, well, if you're Muslim, you're believe in Sharia law, and you're like, it's all just race baiting.
It's very stereotypical, right? And like that's the thing. And I feel like with our restaurants, I feel like they get stereotyped often. And, you know, I think that's where a lot of my burnout comes from. Is like, you know, I'm already working double time, just like every other restaurateur, you know, in this economy, trying to stay afloat and trying to, you know, shift with every new thing that's coming, you know, tariffs and the strike. And, you know, there's always something that requires you to pivot. I mean, since COVID, I feel like we just haven't had a break.
No.
Yeah, no.
Right? We had like kind of built up. And then it's been constantly like in survival mode. And then I feel like there's this layer of like trying to constantly like defend or like constantly trying to defend yourself, like as be it a young person or as we talked about earlier, like being a woman and a young woman, right? Like the Reddit thread is a great example of like, I'm polite to somebody in a restaurant setting, you know,
And the Reddit thread is what? Because we talked about it before the show.
Oh, yeah, we did. That was pretty much.
So you had a Reddit thread where someone called you a boozy flirt?
A boozy fun flirt.
Or boozy fun flirt.
And it came out of a thread where somebody's asking about like, where's good Indian food?
Yeah.
Right? And so now, again, we get into this whole comparison culture of like, oh, well, this place is good because of this. And like, you know, I'm just like, somebody sent me this. I don't go on Reddit or anything. I don't even know how to use Reddit, to be honest with
I
you.
wish I did.
Yeah.
Like, I actually have Reddit on my phone, but I get those kinds of things. I'm like, oh, wow, how do I get access to this?
Yeah. And so like
Reddit.
somebody sends me this. And I think initially they kind of were like, you know, they're a regular guest of ours who's become a friend. And I think initially they also kind of perceived it as like, oh, this is actually like kind of fun that they said this about Kirn. And then and then I like read it and I'm like, wait, is this a good thing or is this not? And we both kind of like read it again and we're like, this is not,
it's not good.
a good thing. In the context, they were like, basically just absolutely, am I allowed to say on us?
Yeah.
You just did, so say it again.
They were shitting on us for being a fusion restaurant, and like reading that thing, I could feel the air quotes that they were using, which someone also did last night as well. They were like, oh, you're a fusion restaurant? I was like, what the hell is that?
Sizzling Tandoor?
No, Kinu.
Okay.
Oh.
Right? And so they were like, oh yeah, Kinu's really great or whatever. And the other person goes, well, yeah, you know, it's pretty good for a fusion restaurant, but I feel like, you know, they're trying super hard, like every other place, to be a like sexy cocktail bar, but they're not.
Did they write that in ketchup on your table or something?
Like so brutal.
Those
It's like,
are
oh,
awful.
okay, so any other type of restaurant can serve cocktails, and all of a sudden it's really cool, it's really exciting, it's really sexy, and then an Indian restaurant does it, and I get it, like not everyone's going to do it well, but like we are doing it well, and we're getting recognized for it. We're working with really awesome people.
Well, and you're doing it authentically.
Yeah.
Like you went to India and you went to these regions and this is your intent.
Yeah.
And to have that intent sort of, you know, judged in a different way.
But also from like a bar perspective, though, it's like, you know, sure, there's like Indian influence.
I guess
to
the fusion
cocktails.
is between food and bar.
Yeah, and
there's
bar,
a fusion.
Yeah, and then like part of our menu is completely contemporary, but it's like being born here. Like, I mean, first of all, India has a huge drinking culture. So like my family's always drank. But then also being born here, it's like the culture was very like, you know, liberated. And like I grew up going to cocktail bars and stuff, right? So, and then we're working with really awesome people like Sean Sewell, like Mike Norbury, Ravendale's, like all these incredible people in the industry. And you go sit at their bars and whatever, but then all of a sudden they put in a cocktail program and it's fantastic. But now all of a sudden people have judgment on it, right?
Yeah.
And it's like all of a sudden the cocktails aren't as good as they are at the other cocktail bar that they represented. And it's like, how come, right? And it's not that.
So this is a bias, I guess.
It is totally. It's you getting boxed into and like that stereotype. And I think, you know, I kind of see myself explaining that to the people I'm going to work with too. It's like, just beware, like there's not gonna be the same recognition as you get. And, you know, sometimes it can deter somebody working with us. The people I've named know, like they've obviously stood by us, but there's other people who are kind of just like, well, you know, this next project seems like I'll get the limelight, right? Like with your place, I'm not gonna get the same recognition. And you're like, that sucks. But then going back to the Reddit thread, this person goes, you know, says all this stuff about the restaurant. And they goes, but the owner's daughter is a boozy fun flirt. And so there's two issues with that for me. Is first of all, I've been I took over my family's restaurant like 10 years ago.
Yeah.
I've been the blood, sweat, and tears. I've been the sweat equity. And yes, my parents are still, a part of it, especially financially. But if you ask them tomorrow to go in the restaurant and like try to operate it anyway, they wouldn't be able to, right? And they're proud of that. Yeah. They're like, that's great that we're not. But it's like, I'm always watered down to the owner's daughter.
Yeah.
And they always assume my dad's the owner when really my mom was the one who wanted to start these.
Spearheaded it.
Spearheaded the whole thing. Yeah. And then my dad, really just stood by her. And he is very much the face. Like she was shy and he came in and he was the customer service guy. He was the front of house, the personality. Exactly. And so it very much became a partnership. So it's not to say my dad is very much the bones of that restaurant, but people automatically assume they're like, I know the owner. It's always him. It's always my dad. He's always the representative. No one really mentions my mom or me. And so they're like, oh, the owner's daughter. And I already knew what they were meaning. Like, oh, this man's daughter. And she's just, she just gets to work there for fun.
Yeah, it's almost like a, denigrating comment.
Totally. It's just like, oh, I'm just fluttering around the restaurant, just having fun, just drinking my way through, just privileged. And it's like, none of that. Like you pulled up today, I saw your car and I'm like, oh God, he just saw me pull up in my car. Like I drive the same car I had in high school.
Yeah, listen.
He got a good deal on that
I
one.
got such a good deal on the car. Plus, if anybody had known me over the years, I'm driving the same car as you. I had a Jeep Cherokee that literally, like, I drove until it fell apart. Like doors were falling off, and I was kind of coming out. I guess I can't drive it anymore.
On Jeeps, the doors just come off, right?
Yeah, exactly. So I'm with you, and I'm embarrassed.
Not
to
him
be
trying
driving.
to compare his white privilege to
No,
Oh God, no. Hey, how
Sam's
old
like, oh
were
no,
you? Hard stop at what time?
Yeah.
How old were you when your parents opened Sizzling Tandoor?
I was 17. I was in my grad year of high school.
And where did you go to school?
I went to Spectrum.
Spectrum?
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. So they waited until, which was super awesome. They waited until my brother and I were, fully independent. Like literally they waited until I got my license and they were like, okay, you're like as independent as you can be. So like, we don't need to worry about you. And we're going to finally do this thing that we wanted to do. And so I thought that was super cool, but it's so crazy because even at 17, my parents knew how much of a time investment it was going to be. And even though I was out hanging out with my friends all the time and whatever, I don't think I realized how much of a toll them being away for that year, being like full on like 7 days a week. They'd leave the house at like 7, 8 a.m. and they'd come home at like 11 or 12. And there was a point where I remember being a little like angry or upset and just feeling like I never have dinner with my parents. And I had a good friend in high school and her parents, I really enjoyed spending a lot of time with them and they were super awesome. Like it's funny. I'd go out to Langford, I'd go grocery shopping at Superstore or wherever. And then she lived out there. And so I'd go to their house and they'd be like, why are you buying groceries? Like just eat at our house or whatever. Right. But like, I felt like, okay, I'm independent. I can do my own thing. But I was obviously missing that piece of like still wanting to have dinner with my family and all of that. And so I saw that. But then shortly after, I ended up going off and doing my own thing. I went traveling for a little bit and then I moved abroad for a little bit. And it wasn't until I came back at 21 when, I moved back with them. I moved back to Victoria. I thought it was going to be a temporary thing. Yeah. And then literally like in the last month of me being 21, I took a temporary job with my parents. And 10 years later, we're here. 10 years later, we've expanded, we've evolved, we've done the whole thing.
Well, they would never done it without your energy too. Right?
Well, I think that they were getting ready. They were on that cusp of like, they were really successful. They opened up 2 locations very like close together. Like in a short amount of time, I should say. And they were like, okay, we're like 5 years in. Like we're either out or we're like, or here's the baton, right? And I don't even think that they were necessarily expecting me to. Like, I don't think that was their goal in any shape or form.
Yeah, like it wasn't like you're being pigeonholed.
No, and it's so funny to this day. A lot of my friends think that's the case. Yeah. But then if you talk to like the original staff, who some are my very good friends, they were like, your parents never even talked about you and your brother, and I'm like, I don't know if I should take that offensively here, but it's like that's how just separated my parents and us were in a positive way.
Yeah.
Like
they
you know,
wanted you to do your thing.
Yeah.
And
yeah, they never
ever
ever were like, hey, this is our dream, therefore it has to be yours and your brother's dream. They were like, hey, okay, you guys are old enough, you guys are doing your own thing, so we're gonna do our own thing now. And my parents, if like anyone who knows them, they're obsessed with each other, and it's so cute.
Oh,
Like,
that's awesome.
yeah, it's really sweet and endearing. Like,
Especially having been in the restaurant industry,
Yeah.
it's a relationship killer. in most
totally.
cases.
And I think also like the reality is coming from a South Asian background. Like they did have an arranged marriage,
Yeah.
which like obviously I hate that stereotype, but like they did back then have an arranged marriage. And a lot of people, even if you're not South Asian, I think when you get older, people start sleeping in separate beds and you're like, what? My parents,
Yeah.
I'm like, I try to get my mom to go to like Vancouver and do a girls trip with me. And she's like, I can't sleep if your dad's not. I'm like, what?
Oh,
Like, that's so cute. Like, I love that.
That's
Yeah, and my
awesome.
dad's like literally like calling her, and I'm like, you guys are ridiculous. Like, I can't spend time with you guys separately. Like, I may as well just spend time with you guys together. So it's super cute, and I love that. And so they kind of were in it together, and they saw it as like this is a joint dream for them.
Yeah.
So even though it wasn't my dad's dream, he very much joined in on my mom's dream and made
I
it
love
his
that.
dream.
Yeah.
But for me and my brother, it was like very much optional. My brother had moved to the mainland and never looked back. He's a very successful realtor. And for me, it's like I was kind of at this like crossroads of like, what am I going to do?
Yeah.
Right. And their manager was going to law school, and they relied on her so heavily. She became almost like a daughter to them. And I was just like unsure what I was going to do. Like, was I going to stay in Victoria? Was I going to go kind of move outside of Victoria again? I just felt like it was way too small for me. But my grandpa, like he was in his 80s and he had just lost his wife like the prior year, and they had been married like 69 years or something. And so the doctor literally was like, he's going to pass away from heartbreak. Like you guys have
Yeah.
like a year, because he
wow.
was so
Yeah.
like depressed.
Right. Yeah.
Again, clearly you can tell we're like the love in our family
Yeah.
comes from.
Yeah. Oh,
They
that's
were
so
like,
awesome.
you know, obsessed with each other, and it was so sweet. So I was like, okay, well, I want to stay close, right? Like if I only have a limited amount of time with him,
Yeah.
he's alive to this day. He's 90, he's 94. He made it. It was great.
He made
I'm
it through.
so glad that, you know, things turned around. Like I think there was just some, you know, my cousins were having kids, and there was this beautiful, like refreshing energy around him that he was just like, okay, no one feels bad for me. And I do have
Yeah.
company. They genuinely enjoy my company. It wasn't just me and my wife. It's like, no, I have this whole legacy that I created, and all these kids actually love me and respect me. So, you know,
It
it
gave
really,
him that purpose.
it
Yeah.
did. Yeah. It gave him that purpose. And then I had started with my folks thinking, okay, I'll do this for a little bit. I'll learn some business skills, and then it'll open up other job opportunities. But then, you know, very quickly I realized like, yes, there's hardships that come with trying to convince my parents to let me do stuff, because they always will view me as their like little kid.
Yeah.
But at the same time, I have a better chance of convincing them than, you know, some boss who is kind of like, don't step on my toes,
Yeah,
little girl,
that's right.
right?
Yeah.
And so I had just experienced that. I was living abroad, and I just got this vibe that like anytime I did anything really positive, I actually got in a lot of trouble for it. And reflecting back on it, I'm like, oh, I think this person kind of thought that I was going to like step on their toes, which is so bizarre, right? Like in this day and age of leadership, there's no more like stepping on, you're like excited and you're proud. You're like, please take my position. So
Yeah. You want.
Yeah.
You want to build a team behind you that can take your job.
yeah. Like right now, my assistant manager, like I tell her all the time, I'm like, I literally want you to like be thriving to take my job.
Yeah.
Like that's what I want you to do, right?
Yeah.
In the most positive way ever, where it's
Yeah.
like we become partners.
Yeah.
And you know, you graduate into my position, and I graduate into something different, and eventually the cycle
like
keeps
on a beach
cycle
maybe
keeps going.
or whatever.
Yeah.
Like the ultimate compliment
Yeah.
is when you don't have anything to do.
Yeah.
It means you're running everything well.
Yeah.
And for me, as being on the top of the pyramid, I want everybody. I don't want to do anything, and I actually am happy if you aren't doing anything either. It means you're dialed.
Yeah.
You know, and they're like, "Oh, I'm kind of bored." I'm like, "Okay, well, let's open another restaurant, or let's do something different, or
Yeah.
let's keep you interested." But you shouldn't feel bad about not, you know, kind of like, "Oh, I got everything dialed." Like,
Yeah.
you want your employees, I think, to just be like, "Oh, I can be chill," you know,
Yeah. You
and
also
start thinking about the fun stuff.
Yeah, totally.
Yeah.
Like I'm 32, and you know, it's like the last 10 years have been dedicated to the business. And the first 5 years I thought, okay, these are the hardest ones, right? And I felt like we built ourselves up, and we were getting to that point. Like,
Yeah.
you know, I had this amazing team. Like I heard you say on the podcast, like you had this team that had helped kind of build the foundation of Jazz 2%. And COVID, you lost them, right? And it was starting from scratch. And same thing. I'm like, oh my gosh, I was getting to this point. I thought I missed out on all the family dinners and all this stuff to get to the point where at like 25, maybe 27, I could be like, okay, cool. Like I can start dating people now because I'll have a normal schedule. Right? And someone will actually understand me. I'm not like answering my phone at all times of the day. I'll start being able to go to family dinners and all of that again. I won't have to worry about like, oh, sorry, I can't come to your birthday on a Saturday, right? Because I'm working at the restaurant. But then COVID just wiped all of that out. Like all of my really strong people, moved on to different things because the restaurant industry wasn't stable anymore. And they were like, I have to, like, these guys were willing to throw their, university degrees away to build on Sizzling. Like their vision was Sizzling. They were like, let's do it. Let's partner together and all of that. And then all of a sudden everyone's like, sorry, I've got to go. And I get it, right? And I wanted them to. I'm like, I don't want you to be tied down to something that I'm not sure if it will have a future or not. Just how Jason Chan had said on the podcast, like that day, March 17th was the last day I think restaurants stayed open. Yeah. And you locked the door and then you were like, and what? Like, are they? Tomorrow. Yeah.
Well, every dream you had was toast.
Yeah.
Like you had no idea, no line of sight. And that's,
but it was also interesting because the flip side of that was, I had watched this interview. It was Vikram Vij's ex-partner. I'm blanking on her name, unfortunately, which is too bad. Miru. And she's just opened up an amazing restaurant called Leela in Vancouver.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. And they're doing some really cool stuff too, like sustainable. And I think there is a strong focus on like vegetarian and vegan. I don't think it's fully plant-based or anything, but anyways, I was watching this interview and she was like, I'm not going to lie though. Like also, that first day after COVID, as much as there was this like worry and the stress of like what's going to happen to, like for my teams, what's going to happen to my leases, what's going to happen to my future and all of this, she goes, it was also like the first day of relief where you just knew nothing else was open. No one could bother you. And as a restaurateur, you could breathe.
Oh my
wasn't anything.
What a great perspective.
Right? It's like not to say that, like misery loves company. And so at that, like, how Jason Chan kept saying in the podcast too, like when your store is kind of quiet and then you go out and you do the walk, you feel a little better in the moment because you're like,
oh, everybody's quiet.
Yeah. But then you feel worse, as he said, because you're like, oh no, like this doesn't change anyone's reality, right? Like we're all still going down in the same direction and it's awful, and you don't want that. And so I understood what she was saying because I'm not going to lie, like that first little bit of my first and foremost was like, okay, like what can we do for the staff? Like I immediately laid them off. Like I knew that was like first course of action. And I was like, okay, you guys need to get EI. Like here's all your layoff slips immediately. Like within 24 hours, I had gotten all that sorted out for them. But then it was like, after that though, I was like, oh, like I'm just gonna chill. Like I was so relaxed and
you get a bit of a break.
Yeah, I was like, like my phone's not going off, but within a week or so, whatever, takeout was back on, and so then it was full on, and then trying to get people back in was nearly impossible because people were scared, right? Like my team wasn't like, I don't want to come back and help you, but they were like, I have this vulnerable person I live with, or and so I'm scared to go out and like interact. Like if we're the only people out there interacting with people, what does this mean? And again, and I'm like, what, like 25, 26, I think 26 at this point or something. And I'm like, I'm terrified. My grandpa just moved in with my parents, right? And I'm living at my parents' house at this time, waiting for my place to be built. And I'm like, it's tenfold worse than me. Like I felt so guilty every day that I came home that like my grandpa's a vulnerable person, but at the same time, like I'm on the hook for it, right? Like I got to figure it out, and we do need to do this takeout thing because I really do need the money to come in through the door, right? And so
without the Sizzling Tandoor through COVID, I would be very hungry.
Thank you.
It was so good. We would go and pick up all the time. So good.
No, and the takeout was a game changer, right? And like I think there was a lot of discussion. Again, that episode with Jason Chan I think was so informative. It touched on so many different realities. There was like this boost, right? And you're like, okay, everything's going to be okay, right? Because you didn't know what it was going to be. So when you saw that, and then you mentioned like you did you got through it, right? You got all the subsidies or maybe not all the subsidies, sorry, but like you were able to get some of those, but you got the loans and, you figured it out. You're like, okay, we'll figure it out.
Yeah.
But then like a couple of years ago, we paid back those loans and we're like back in the same position.
Yeah. Well, nothing's changed. And that's kind of the thing. Like when we started Bread and Butter Collective, it was right at the beginning of COVID. And it was just the reality, but we should have actually started Bread and Butter Collective a decade before.
Sure.
Yeah.
When you look at the scope or the trajectory of the restaurant industry, when we started in 1999, Zambri's, that was probably the beginning of the end of the good times.
Yeah.
Like we were, it wasn't really weird. We've always been struggling, like it's never, but if you go back 10 years before that, so the late 80s and early 90s, you could actually make a living and there's careers and people viewed it as a career and it was somewhat respectable. Then all of a sudden it just shifted to where, oh, well, it's just a transition job or entry level job. And people weren't, and I'm saying that in a blanket statement.
Sure.
But, we had a whole bunch of professionals that have come through our organization. But when you look at the industry and even when we were looking at it at COVID is like, we needed like everybody. And I've said this back then is about restaurants subsidize their customers.
Yeah.
Because nobody is charging enough to do what they're doing to have a respectable business. Like a 3 to 5% profit margin is not a respectable business. 10% above.
Yeah.
No problem. Like the majority of businesses, if you're in the oil patch or if you're in manufacturing or pretty much any other industry, like you would never operate on those margins. Like you couldn't. Because you're barely keeping up with inflation. Yeah. And it's that sort of like confusion and dynamic that hasn't really changed. And it's even when you talk about the customers and what their expectations are and, how much you're charging and all this stuff. It's just like, what are you, like I talk about this customer that came in and I was eating with a old couple, like a friend of mine. And he's just like, how dare you charge, blah, blah, blah. And I'm looking at him like, and I said to him, who do you think's making money here? Yeah. Like I need to actually charge more than I'm charging in order to even make a living. So like, who are you mad at? Like, do you want me to take it from my staff? Yeah. Do you like who's going to pay the bill for you?
So we got this review when like in the early stages of Kinu, and we get this all the time at Sizzling because Sizzling Tandoor is such an like traditional name, right?
I love that name, by the way.
Oh, thank you. Yeah, it's so funny. I came up with it when I was like 17. When my like parents were I like was spitballing stuff out because at the time they're like trying to go and register a business and they're like, everything's taken, right? Like you tried all these like contemporary like one words like chutney, coriander, whatever. It's funny there is a coriander now, but I don't know. At the time these things were taken. And so I was like, I don't know. We like put together Sizzling Tandoor and it worked, right? It worked and whatever. And it's funny because me and the staff, we all have so many other names. We're like, meet me at Sizz. We call it ST. We call it Sizzling. Like we almost never call it Sizzling Tandoor. Yeah. And then like 80% of people call it Sizzling Tandoori, which rubs me the wrong way. Like as soon as you say that, I'm like immediately mean. Like and you can't undo it. You can't. I'm like the ignorance is so real. But so with that one, it's like, okay, you kind of get the usual stereotype, like your prices are too expensive, or they just assume that like, all these that they call food poisoning, and you're like, what? Yeah, no. What? Like we moved through our food so fast. Like, I'm sorry, what?
And no one else got it.
No one else got it. You're the one person that reported food poisoning, right? Yeah. It's so crazy. But then with Kinu, it was like, okay, that perspective shifted, and I'm not seeing like a lot of like most people are very happy. In fact, you're extremely underpriced, which we are, right? And we were doing that to create awareness and all of that. But this one review came in, and she was like, the portion size is ridiculous. Like I just paid $30 for this meal. First of all, like I knew exactly the cost of her thing. So I like replied on it, like, and put each item that she got. And I'm like, it didn't even add to $30. Right. Yeah. And then it's like, you take a picture of your container, it's half eaten and you're taking it from the top. Like when your container is this big, but you make it look this big, right? Is the angle of the photo. And then she ends up writing me an email. Cause I said, like, write me, like you can get in touch with me. Here's my email, whatever. She goes, well, like I said on the review, the food was fantastic. I just felt like the portion size wasn't enough. And I'm like, our portion sizes are extremely generous and we're like underpriced. And like, do you know how much cardamom costs? Like cardamom may as well be gold right now, right?
Yeah.
And we're putting so much cardamom, and like, yes, you can get frozen butter chicken. Yes, you can get jarred butter chicken. And yes, you can also go to an Indian restaurant and get butter chicken. You can also probably go to your local pub and now get butter chicken, right? But they're all made so differently. So not all butter chicken is the same. I feel like you need to call this podcast. This episode better be not, Because seriously, like
not everyone can do a butter chicken poutine. Not everyone.
Well, the butter chicken itself, right? Like, so now I've started getting into like the nitty gritty of like, how is our butter chicken made? And like me and my parents, we went and did this like whole tomato tasting, and it was like tomato sauces, right? They're not all the same.
Yeah, that's right.
Right. And so we use Italian tomatoes. It really, like, you know, the acid is already adjusted. So you're not chucking in a bunch of sugar and then it doesn't become the sugar bomb, right? It's really important. We use a lot of cream. That's why, like, if you look at our butter chicken, it's really creamy. It's a lighter color. It's not that really deep red, because people like cream's expensive. Heavy cream's super expensive. And then people are like, what's that extra flavor in your butter chicken? And I'm like, cardamom. We put so much cardamom, and cardamom is so expensive. Like, we were pricing out our chai masala the other day to sell at a Christmas market with our food truck. And my mom goes, oh yeah, it's $5.60 100 grams. And I was like, nope, that can't be true. Ooh. And I like chat GPT this, right? Because I'm like, don't believe my mom. I trust chat GPT. And I'm like, and chat GPT is like, no, like that's pretty accurate, right? Like, you know, it might be like if you're getting your cardamom from here, like maybe that's, and I'm like $5.60 100 grams. So I'm like, so what am I going to sell at this market? Like, I still got to get like a beautiful glass jar. I've got to get like, you know, a sticker. I'm still going to have to get the instructions on how to brew the chai, and how do I, you know, like, I see the value in it. And like, you know, somebody like you who appreciates restaurants and how, like, homemade things and whatever will come through and be like, this is authentic. You guys grind your own spices, and we get cardamom's expensive. But the average person is like, but I could go buy chai at Starbucks for this much.
Yeah.
You know?
Yes, you can, and maybe they should.
Yeah, you should actually.
You should just go there.
Well, it's about building your own tribe too. Like, you know, and this is where, you know, we kind of talked earlier about the podcast about, you know, people understanding what you're doing, and, you know, there's certain, and it's not about selecting your customers. It's just about educating them where you can. And same with your staff. Like when you talk about how attention to detailed you are, and that comes from pride, and it shows in the food, it shows in the service, it shows in all of those things. And I think there's a huge underappreciation of that, and it also gets confused. So then when someone's looking at the price of chai at Starbucks and they think that's a baseline, like Starbucks, even when it comes to coffee, it's total crap. It's overburnt. It's burnt. It's done. Yeah,
to
like
make
money.
I never drink coffee black, and like this is so smooth.
It's unbelievable. And once you do have and it's all about an appreciation. So you have a craftsman here, and I view that, you know, I'm a craftsman in the burgers. Like, I care literally about
your burgers are unreal.
Yeah, and the thing about it, you don't ever take it for granted. No. You know, like the businesses and restaurants that take it for granted are almost geared towards those people. If they just understood what their criticism means and what it signifies about their background or their understanding of how things work, they would be like, oh my, I'm embarrassed.
Yeah.
You know, like, and I didn't grow up on food. I grew up in northern BC. Like, my mom was an okay cook, but I usually had to make all my own food because she was working and all that stuff. But it wasn't until I met my first wife, Jo Zambri, that I actually started getting educated about food and appreciating it. And now I actually can tell the difference. And, you know, not everybody has that exposure.
Yeah.
But I think people should have a deeper understanding, especially when it comes to restaurants.
Yeah.
Is not all restaurants are the same.
No.
And you can tell by how they serve and how long they've served and what their ratings are. So a lot of people would compromise in order to get sales, or, you know, kind of pivot in a way that doesn't actually stick to their purpose.
Yeah.
And I think if you just stick to your purpose, that will, over time, that's how you can be a 15, 20-year brand or 30-year brand.
It's just hard though, because I think we're getting to that point where it's like, how long can we keep living out of fear of like not raising our prices and all of that, right? So there's that layer for restaurants, but like, I think for me, as I mentioned before, when you guys asked me to join in on this, I was like, I'm really passionate about, the challenges I have as an ethnic business, right? Like there's this extra layer,
Yeah.
like I'm facing the
people don't even
layers of being
understand.
like
Yeah.
young, I'm facing the layers of being a woman. Okay, those
Yeah.
it's like, sure, like there's a lot of people that can relate to that. But then being an ethnic restaurant in Victoria where there's not a lot of ethnic restaurants, now there's a lot of Indian restaurants, sure.
Yeah.
But like, then it's like we're getting compared to every other Indian restaurant, and like they're not raising their prices because they're adhering to what people's expectation is of Indian food. But then
Well, they're also not buying at the same way that you're buying.
yeah,
you
and
know?
then we're trying to break that mold, and then we're getting kind of this flack, or someone goes, the number one thing I hear is, well, I'll just go to the place down the road, and I'm like, okay, sure. There's a point where you're like, yeah, sure, but then there's a point where you're like, okay, how many more people can I allow to walk away?
Yeah,
Right? There is a
that's right.
point where you're like, I also need to keep my doors open, but do I do it with the significant loss where I feel like I'm making I'm
Yeah.
making sales and my staff are still employed and feeding their families, or it's a lose-lose situation.
Yeah.
Unfortunately, we're not
Yeah,
making
it's a race
money.
to the bottom.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And so for me, it's really important that people understand, like, Indian food is incredibly labor intensive to make. The ingredients are some of the most expensive ingredients in the world.
Yeah.
And if we want to get to the point where we can start saying we're farm to table, with everything, well then, be expecting the prices, right?
Yeah.
Like we can't be sourcing the proteins and everything else when like our spices are already so expensive. And so like lamb, for example, like my lamb shank is priced so reasonably,
Yeah.
but everywhere else I go, lamb shank is allowed to be $60 and people will order it. If I put a $60 lamb shank
Yeah.
curry on there, I'd be like just
Shunned.
absolutely canceled.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
Yeah, it's like, okay, lamb is a part of Indian food. Sure it is. But like it's even at $25, $28, you cannot sell a
Yeah.
lamb curry, but the expectation of lamb curry should be $18.
Yeah.
How do you
Yeah.
justify that? Right.
Well, and that's where, and again, it comes to privilege too. Like it's a privilege to be able to sell it at 60
Yeah.
because that's what it's worth.
Yeah.
And that's what you're worth
Yeah.
as doing it. But to get there, it's like, well, how do you build a business that can charge what we need to charge where we're not subsidizing the customer? And then we can do the prideful stuff we're doing. And you spoke about the chefs and how to prepare dishes. Like people don't understand how many touches that certain dishes take,
Mhm.
and that all is money, right?
Yeah.
And time,
and
too,
time
I'm sure,
and
with the
quality.
Indian
And
cuisine,
when you
right?
touch a dish 5 times, there's that dish now all of a sudden goes from a 22% labor cost to a 32% labor cost.
So like
Right.
having good food, which is Sizzling Tandoor, right? And its core is like excellent quality food and authentic Indian food, right? That's already expensive enough, right? We're already underpriced significantly. And then you bring something in like quinoa where you're like, okay, I can replate my food in a way where people will now deem it as sexy,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
And they're like, people come in and they're like, this is so amazing. I've never seen Indian food plated like this. Like, and people even make comments like, well, I feel like Indian food like can't be plated sexy, right? And it's like, yeah, you're right. It is quite challenging, but we found ways to do it. But now every one of those touches, like you said, is the cost of going through the roof. And I'm not able to charge that much at all, right? Especially, when you're trying to be like a lunch spot as well. And you're
Yeah.
trying to be approachable. Like you want as many eyes as possible on this thing that you love.
Yeah.
Especially because my culture is tied to it.
Yeah.
But more so, it's just like whether my culture was tied to it or not, it's just something I built with my family. Just like,
Yeah.
the coffee business for you and any restaurant that you've been a part of, like it's a labor of your love.
Yeah.
And you want everyone to experience it and be exposed to it. But it's hard because, something's just not mathing up there, right?
Well, it's
Yeah.
the balance, and it's hard to create that balance where you can actually do it in a way that you want to do it, the way you intend to do it, and then still charge what you. I mean, I'd like to give all my food away for free. I think
Yeah.
people
Yeah, it's about
would love it.
feeding
Yeah,
people,
it's about
right?
feeding
It's
people and the
like-
joy you get out of
and
it.
sharing and
But
but
the business and the struggles and how hard it is. I mean, it wears. If you want good restaurants to survive,
Yeah.
you've got to support them, and you've got to also try to educate yourself in a way that you can appreciate the ones that are doing it right.
Yeah.
And I don't want the ones that aren't doing. I mean, everybody makes their choices, and I want everybody to do well, but I would definitely want local, independent, ethically sourced
Yeah.
restaurants to thrive.
Yeah.
And because there's a huge difference to it, and versus going to Moxie's, and no slag to Moxie's, you guys do a good
Totally.
job for what you do.
Yeah.
And not even Moxie's a bad example. I would say
Like
you
any
know,
chain
yeah,
corporate
chain,
restaurant, like
Cactus Club or
yeah,
whatever.
like I love all those places, and I
Yeah.
go a lot, and they have,
Yeah.
you know, it's consistent, and you know, they do actually source their food, like, you know,
Yeah.
like they
Well,
actually
they provide that ethnic diversity,
Sure.
which I like, because
Yeah.
they do Indian dishes and they do these different things, which I think is
and they
gateway
and they
for
prep
people
a lot
to come
of
to
it.
your
Like,
place.
you know, I think a lot of people have this misunderstanding of Earls and Cactus, and they're
Yeah,
like,
okay, I take it back.
frozen. You know, they actually are such a good foundation of like how food is made, though, and
Yeah.
like they do a lot of it like from scratch and whatever.
Yeah.
And so I really respect that, and
Yeah.
and I support them a lot. But it is really hard. Like, you know, one of our locations is in like the hub of just corporate chains around us, right? And so you often see, okay, at lunchtime they'll go there and they'll pay $30+ They might even get a drink.
Yeah.
But you know, when they come to our place, all of a sudden, what's the lunch special? What's the deal? What's the right? And you're like, but why? What's the difference? What's the expectation? Why all of a sudden a family-owned business is expected? Or maybe is it because we're an ethnic business, or is it because we're a local business? You just don't sometimes know where that, you know, that division is. And it makes it really hard for us to, you know, staff accurately and be prepared for those rushes. So then they're like, well, your food takes too long on the days that you're busy. Well, you know, if people were consistently coming in and supporting us, just like they went to all those corporate restaurants consistently, then we'd always have the staff, right?
Yeah, that's right.
But if it only happens once every 3 weeks, I
How do you
can't have
prepare?
3
Yeah.
guys on the line just waiting for nothing to happen,
Yeah,
right?
yeah.
So I think those are some of the challenges, and I really hope if, you know, anyone watches this episode, that's their takeaway from it, is just understanding that like there needs to be a little bit more education and understanding about like local businesses. But I think especially, you know, like I really need to emphasize like ethnic restaurants, because it's just not the same ball game, right?
Yeah.
Like, you know, if you start comparing us to local businesses that are Italian based, or you know, have some kind of other backing to it, it's just not like it's comparing apples to oranges. How, you know, how customers perceive them and how they perceive us, sadly, is very different. We don't have the same opportunity, even if we've been around for 16 years. And I don't want to complain and I don't want to cry wolf or whatever, but at the same time, it's like it's really important for people to understand that, like, if they want good Indian food to actually stay in the city, then they've got to go pay the good Indian food prices.
Yeah, exactly.
We're not cheap, and we're not, you know, like you gotta come show us some love, just how you would to an Italian restaurant where you gladly will pay $45 for a pasta, right? Like gnocchi these days on a menu is what, like 36, anywhere from like 36 to $45, right? We like hand make our gnocchi, like it's phenomenal. Do it authentic Italian style, Sicilian style, and it's like priced at like I think like $25 or $28 or something, and I'm just like, we're not making money, we're losing money on
you're
this right
losing
now.
money.
Yeah.
Okay, so we got to wrap up because 2 of us are old men that need to go to their doctor. I want to where you're fantastic.
Oh, thank you.
And I want to do a collab with poutine butter chicken with you.
We already have a chicken poutine. It's just like you're behind, but I want to do anything and everything with you, because like.
But we do, Big Wheel Burger doesn't have a collab with you.
You don't.
Yeah, we want to do a butter chicken poutine with Sizzling Tandoor.
Let's do all of it. Let's do a lamb bacon or something. I don't know. Let's get saucy.
Let's get saucy.
And,
so
and
we'll
I also
figure that
want to say you can probably isolate your customers who don't appreciate you by them calling it chai tea.
Okay, I'm guilty of saying that too.
No, you are
non-bread.
Okay, tell our audience where the restaurants are.
Amazing.
Quickly.
Yeah, of course. So we're located downtown on Johnson Street between Broad and Douglas, across from the Best Western. That's our flagship store. A lot of people don't realize we expanded that location. In 2019, we were mid-renovation when COVID hit. So it's beautiful. It's double the size. It used to be the small little like narrow restaurant.
I love it, by the way. I used to go there.
Beautiful bar.
I'm pretty sure your dad was there when I was going.
Probably, yeah. It's got the stunning bar, stunning Moroccan wallpaper. It's amazing. Kinu is located at Uptown. A lot of people think our Sizzling Tandoor Uptown went out of business. It did not. We just evolved. We're younger, we're cooler, we're hipper, and it's beautiful. We needed a renovation in there, so we just wanted to give it like a whole fresh identity. Kinu is actually named after me. That's my nickname at home with some of my family. So
I love it.
if you go into Kinu, you like every little bit of it is my personality. So come experience that. We would love that. that. And then in Langford, we're between Noodle Box and Original Joe's there in the West Shore Plaza.
It used to be the old pig location.
That's
Yes,
my
we
home
were.
base.
He left for, it was so funny because when he left, he's like, I'm going to go like raise chickens on a farm. And I was like 24. And I was like, why would you ever want to do that when you've got such cool restaurants? And now I'm like, all I envision myself doing is like painting in a meadow. Like, you know, like I'm just like
It's an
so
evolution.
tired. I'm like, oh, I'm exhausted. Like, I get it. It's not as glamorous as you think it is in your early 20s when you're like, my wine rep gives me like, you know, like my wine rep takes me out for lunch and like buys me wine. This is so cool, you know?
Well,
Like, it's
if
not
you
cool. I'm
ask-
tired now. I don't want the glass of wine.
Exactly.
I just need to go to bed
Let's
and
go
like
raise
paint.
some chickens.
Yeah.
Oh, I'm sure if you ask Jeff now, he'll say raising chickens ain't what it's cracked.
No, he's not raising chickens anymore, and he's actually moving back to the city.
Amazing.
So it's the evolution.
Maybe he has to consult.
Yes.
For me or
Yeah,
something.
yeah.
That
Oh,
is what
he's
he does.
available for that too,
Yeah.
by the
Okay,
way.
cool.
Yeah.
Karen, thank you so much.
Thank you so much.
Sizzling Tandoor and
Kinu. Thank you.
And yeah, go check it out. And we love you. And thank you so much for coming on
Well,
the show.
we love you. Thank you so much for
My
your time.
favorite Friday night meal.
I know you're so
Yeah.
amazing. I appreciate you
Yeah.
so much, Sam. And sorry,
So
I feel
good.
like I didn't even let you talk the whole time. So we're
It's
gonna have
okay.
to.
He's got palsy.
I got Bell palsy.
And I
keep
usually
talking
talk-
away.
He had
majority of the
like
time.
14 thoughts going on, and
I
I'm just like,
did.
wait,
I
let me
have-
keep talking.
I do have so much more to.
But we'll just have to have lunch
together.
together. So
We'll have lunch
We'll
and
be
we're going to
back.
have you back on the show.
thank you. Appreciate you
All right,
guys.
great.
Okay,
Thank you.
cheers.
Sam, have a great week. Remember to be kind.
I will. You be nice and have a great doctor's appointment.
You as well.
Oh, thanks. I will.
We'll compare notes after.
We'll come back with our walkers.
Yeah, exactly. AJ.
Love you, man. Take care.
Love you. Bye.
Bread and Butter Collective's membership includes the following local businesses: 2% Jazz, Bunny's Kitchen, Buzz Coffee House, Eagle-Ite, Big Wheel Burger, Blue Mountain Solutions, Bodega Tapas Wine Bar, Eva Schnitzel House, Farmsgate Foods and Catering, Victoria Chocolate and Company, Drum Roaster Coffee, Habit Coffee, Foo Asian Street Food, the Culinary Arts Program at Camosun, Cafe Fantastico, Fall Epi, Harold Street Brewworks, Hey Happy, House of Botang, Nikkei Ramen Ya, Jetty Marie's Cracker Company, La Pasta, La Rue Patisserie, Mocha House, Part and Parcel, Poco a Pinto Bar, Pizzeria Prima Strada, Keating Pizza, Roast, Table 9 Consulting, Sherwood Cafe and Bar, Sweets by Selena, The Collective Wine Bar and Kitchen, The Drake, Tapa Bar, The Nimble Bar Company, Ruth and Dean, The Whole Beast, The Wienery, Spoon's Diner, Truffles Inspired Catering, and Zambries.
To hear more from the Bread and Butter Collective, go to checknews.ca/podcasts on Check Plus or find us on your favorite podcasting platform.